If you are expecting to clear the goods on exemption, avail yourself immediately, obtain all the requisite and relevant documents, and then make sure that you apply online. The online exemption, once it's set in motion, does not take more than 10 minutes because it starts from the level of the ministry and then hits the DTRA system where it goes through first checking and second checking for final approval before it comes to the customs system where customs will also check, comparing all relevant documents, and then the exemption criteria, whether it's from the third schedule or a parliamentary exemption or from the Ministry of Finance. And when that is done, it is on my table. And at the stroke of the button, your exemption is approved. So these are not take maybe 10. I'm just trying to be economical, but 10 minutes is too much. So make sure that you apply online, and then if you are not ready to pay the duties, go for the exemption. And for the MDAs, make sure that you apply and ensure that you have a source of funding to clear your goods if you are not supposed to enjoy any form of exemption. Apply to clear under permit pending payment. Apply to the Ministry of Finance pending payment of duty. In other words, the Ministry of Finance will ensure that per their letter or the memo that is attached, you'll be given a chance to clear the permit. However, the duty will be charged to your budget. Advisedly, apply for a transfer of cargo to the state warehouse and staff and have it paid pending completion of clearance processes. And this will reduce the burden of huge demurrage and port charges, as I said earlier. Ladies and gentlemen, this is but a few that I have for you. And I believe that this presentation, this very short presentation, which normally takes a whole day in addition to other lectures at the academy, will be enough to address most of the teething problems that the MDAs normally face. Thank you very much.
So if a container comes in and is not unstuffed on time, as we classify as UCL, it's a huge economic impact on our activities. In the sense that if you have a vessel coming from Europe, US, the Mediterranean or Far East to Ghana, you're expecting that within 50 days turnaround time, the container should be back on board. Assuming we don't get any export for it, it goes back empty for another import back to the country. So if containers are held up by MDAs and other private shippers, it's a huge impact on our business. In addition to that, sometimes freight is not even paid, even for some of them that are prepaid. You realize that in the presentation it said lack of documentation. The question I keep asking myself is sometimes the MDAs, you come even among themselves, maybe Ministry of A imports a cargo, he needs permit from B. Among themselves, there's so much delay that it affects. From the presentation we saw VACO and all other MDAs there. So the question you ask is, I don't know the exact requirement. Is it a copy BL or the original that is required for the permit? Maybe we need to look at that. Because as far as shipping lines are concerned, copy BLs can be obtained even when freight has not been paid. So you can use the copy for the processing of your permit. It is only when you have paid the freight, based on the agreement between you and the line, that will give you the original bill of lading. So with the transit time that we have, maximum 3 weeks, 2 weeks, for a month, cargo is here. When you're looking at the Far East, that is when it takes about more than a month. Sometimes 41 if there's transshipment. On worst case scenarios, 50 days. So this time, I think it is well enough for anybody importing cargo to be able to clear within the time frame, looking at the long transit times, especially for such a long haul cargo. So if all these things are in place and you are still not able to clear, and our greatest concern is what we call specialized containers, like the Murphys for the project cargo. The port expansion that we are doing, we carried a lot of cargo for it. If cargo comes on Murphys are not even allowed out of the port within a certain radius. So we expect that you unstuff your cargo, and most often than not, these project cargos are very delicate. When we contact the customers or the MDAs, they said that they are waiting for the permits, it's not ready yet, and they cannot take it out because of the handling, in order not to damage anything. So they prefer that it to be on the container. Bolsters, Murphys, open tops, flat wraps. Those are the specialized equipment that are very expensive, and they are very few in the fleet for shipping lines. So if we have them locked up, as I speak with you, we have about 5 open tops that was shipped in by somebody last year. We gave the person 50% waiver up to date. He's not able to clear. The reasons being that I think there's an issue with the evaluation. One of them was cleared at the end of the exit point. It was noticed that there's an issue. It was on the track for about 2-3 days. He brought it down, and up to date, the cargo is abandoned. So you ask yourself, sometimes I wonder, if you don't need the cargo, why do you import it in the first place? I'm sure we all need cargo, shippers need cargo, that is why they import them. And as much as the MDAs, we also need our project cargo, that's why we import them. So if you have cargo sitting in containers for long periods, considering the transit time that we have, considering the benevolence of sometimes what we do to even give you waivers, maximum threshold about 50%, in some cases 100% waiver, in some cases 100% waiver. If I can recollect the terminal expansion project, we brought in some cargo, there were some few issues, Ministry of Health, we give them 100% waiver. So if we do all this to help, and still containers are locked there and clear, it's a big problem for us shipping lines. The other issue is we also follow up on the importers, on the shippers. We do a lot of follow up. Apart from the arrival notice that we give to the importers, sometimes consignee names are not correct, as my officer said in the presentation. We get incorrect telephone numbers, emails, addresses that are not accurate. In as much as we liaise with our colleagues in the port of loading to get correct information, sometimes it's coming from the importers themselves. They are not able to give accurate telephone number. And sometimes you call and the person is no longer working with the company. It's difficult to even get enough information. So the arrival notice we send to the importers and the shippers is for you to know that your cargo has arrived. That's the first step we take. We don't want to have UCL in our system at all. So we inform you, and then after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, if you have not cleared, we send you another reminder. We make telephone calls, follow-up calls, and some of them still. There are even some transit goods that we even have to actually coerce them to come and pay the demurrage. And sometimes some of them, if they are able to even pay, they want to be sure that they'll get waiver on the rent as well. So it is a two-way thing. If I don't get enough waiver on the rent, then I might as well allow the cargo to go uncleared. The other issue that came up during the presentation is the way the UCL is handled. My personal observation, when we submit UCL list to State Warehouse, is that as far back as 2013, we have containers sitting in Atlas. I think previously they used to be at the Toya Yard, and I think they are no longer using them, and then Nagoli. The containers 6 years down the line are still there unstuffed. And some of them, the cargo beverages, I'm sure they are expired. That is why maybe customs will not have any buyer for it. So together, as we think through how do we handle such issues, such cargo that are overstayed and maybe have expired, supermarket goods, that nobody would buy, then the onus lies on we, the shipment lines. In the presentation, the cost of destruction is for us. But on the long term, we would plead that if it's possible, we'll have a big state warehouse that goods are unstuffed into the state warehouse so that they free the containers for our businesses. Then the auction will go on there and you go and pick it. And then the other issue I also noticed was the timing. of the auction. Sometimes we don't get notification at all, or we see it in the dailies that cargo is going to be auctioned. You look through your list and you realize that yours is not there. Once in a while we get notification from the terminals, Atlas or the one at Committee 3, overseas, your container is empty, come and pick it up. That is all we get. And in his presentation, we also lose revenue in terms of freight, demurrage, and we don't get anything at all. Sometime, a few years back, there was discussion and the terminals were asked to always refer, when the cargo is auctioned, they should refer the buyer to the shipping lines, at least to pay our main admin charges. But believe you me, they don't come at all. Most of them are not, they don't come. Some, when they come, they are only coming to ask for copy BL to enhance their processing. Because when a cargo is auctioned, shipping lines are taken out of the chain. There's no delivery order, there's no electronic deal, there's nothing. So we don't even come in at all. When it comes to vehicles, we don't hear anything at all. In our checks, we also realize that some terminals have their own arrangements with customs. Some get a certain percentage or whatever of the auction amount. Other terminals have fixed charges. If it's a car, you pay this. If it's a van, you pay this. But shipping lines, we are cut out. So we are hoping that as we deliberate the way forward, we'll be incorporated how to at least get our main admin, even if freight charges are not paid. Sometimes freight charges are not paid at all. The other thing I also observed was the way it is auctioned. I think I've said it before. If it's not possible to make it first in, first out, I don't know. Boss officer, custom officer. It's not possible because if you have containers like in fresh presentation, some containers have been staying there for a very long time, uncleared. And some also come and then within 60 days, 65 days they are cleared. He said some are juicy. Maybe the content. And the other observation too is cars in containers. I know cars are hotcakes, so sometimes it beats my personal imagination why cars in containers should be left for so long on the UCL list. I think it should be opened and auctioned as soon as possible if the person is not ready to clear the vehicle. So our major concern is the fact that we have been cut off from the chain of operation when it comes to ocean cargo. We are not interested in UCL at all. We want our containers back into the fleets for business so that we can still be in business. Thank you.
I'm going to blame customs first for all the UCLs in Germany. If customs had very good refund system, we don't only have much UCL containers. I have 5 containers coming. I'm supposed to clear on payments. The documents are not ready. Okay, I'll pay the duty. Then in 2 days time, I'll pay the customs for the refund of the duty when my documents are ready. Very simple. Customs refunds takes 2 years, 3 years to get Accra. That was, I have one up to now, I've stopped chasing it. I've stopped. After 3 years, I don't go chase it again. So that if Ministry of Shippers Council brings 10 containers, Parliament is on recess, they've gone to the village for campaign, they are not here. Shippers Council, okay, let's pay the duty. When I have the documents, customs give us the refund of the duty. So it takes 2 years. As I've just 1 for 3, okay, I'm making my 4, okay, I've stopped. I've stopped. So let's look at the refund system for customers. Most of these people, we are ready to pay and go for refund. After what is it? If I know I get my money back, why must I do? Secondly, the MDAs should stop relying on supply commission. They are very good freight forwarders who can finance the clearing, put the goods in the state where the bonded warehouse maybe about 2 weeks while the documentation goes now. Then after the payment, then go and clear. But if you want to leave the Mr. Abbott is campaigning for the state warehouse, they are renting now, it's very high, don't go there. Go to the bonded warehouse. Some are very reasonable. So put the goods in the bonnet warehouse. After paying, if the first 7 days is free, Gapua rent, now that MKC is taking over, they say they want to pay for some chassis. Gapua rent is not much. It's not much. Gapua rent is not much. So the problem is after the 7 days. But I'm shipping line. You see, it means that if you make your hands very strong, they will break it. Your demurrage charges are too high. When you go to next line, and the original will give you some. Some of the shipping line, not give one CME, not $1. They will give you. Then if you give me, I'll leave the container there. You understand? At times you come, madam, ready to pay the duty. Give me some rebates. Let me pay. They say no. I'll leave the container for Mr. Akoti to auction. So it's as much as we want to do the right thing, we should also help us. Half of Gapua, every car they auction, they take 800 Ghana cedis. Just like you are aware of that.
I'm very much aware.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Maybe when the shipper line with the container, doesn't get the time.
No, it's not the car. The car is not 800, it's container.
How much is the car?
The 40-foot container.
And just how much is the car?
The car,
700.
I think, no, it's something.
It's just something, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
The person has completed his car. He's not getting anything from the sale of the car.
Finish it. Why not?
Order. So, you have the floor.
So now, I just have to look at that.
Ask the floor, don't ask questions.
So that is the issue. So the user containers, 1, customs, 2, shipping line, 3, Gapua, then 4, government. Tama Hospital, they have a new mortuary they are building. I live in Tama, so I know Tama very well. I got power, NDC left power and NDBK. The containers are the port. I think 4 years now, the containers are still there. Yes, they want a letter from Ministry of Health to clear those things for the mortuary. The old mortuary is very small. If you're not lucky and you die. It's not There's a new mortuary, they'll finish the project. Because a letter from Ministry of Health to go and clear the freeze for the mortuary. It's still there 4 years now. That one is not event. It's political. Somebody doesn't want to open the project for political gain. So they will leave it there because he didn't start it. So the one that's sitting there. That one, me as a freight forwarder, there's nothing I can do about it. So customs, the refund system. Otherwise, we always pay and count for the money. When customs is refunding money, I think we are going to kill them. I don't know. So that's what they. If it's easy, why not? We always pay and count for it. And so let's find a very simple way of. Whenever we try to do something of that sort, it was working. One power change. Hold on, so I beg you. Let's look at it. Thank you very much.
I think that we at the port, we've been complaining about this issue for a long time, and this is just the day that hopefully once we are all gathered here, we can take something out of the decisions that we'll make and try to work on it. I'm also of the view that Fred has actually highlighted all the issues when it comes to the terminals. He raised the issues that concern us, loss of revenue, congestion at our ports, and then I like the way he separated the reefer containers from the others, the general ones, because that has been a very thorny issue. We plug the reefer containers and we have to pay electricity to the electricity company. But when these containers go on UCL and they are not cleared, we get our, sometimes it goes bad, the content of the container goes bad. Like the shipping line said, they have to destroy it and then they come to us to waive the electricity charges whilst we are going to pay. It can't work. It can't work. So we've been having these challenges. And I also like the way that Fred separated the MDAs from the normal shippers. And that is a very good basis for us to look at the various factors separately so that we can address them separately, Mr. Chairman. If I touch on the MDAs, that is where GPHA
is just not comfortable with at all, Mr. Chairman. And it's just because that they are government institutions, and if they are coming in for the waivers, they come in for everything to be waived. And our hands seems to be tied at our back. We cannot say anything because we are also 100% government owned, and we just have to wait. But what we are all ignoring is the fact that GPHA is 100% government owned, but we are a commercial entity. We are not government subvented. We operate as any private company. We have to get revenue to service our budgets. We pay our own staffs. We provide all the port facilities. Nobody helps us to provide the port facilities. All the infrastructure you see there and superstructure is provided by GPHA. And we only take these handling charges and what have you to be able to do all of this. So if we have to spend money, for example, if the container comes and we have to move them from the vessels, stack them, we do all of that with equipment and then also sometimes labor. And then, of course, I've mentioned the reefer, where you have to also plug to electricity. And at the end of the day, the ministry comes and we have to waive everything. We have engaged equipment, we have engaged labor, and we just have to waive everything and give it to the ministry for free. It doesn't work that way, Mr. Chairman. It actually gives us financial burdens. And even the attitude sometimes, I'm sorry to say this, the attitude sometimes from colleague ministries and other government institutions is that, well, you don't have an option, you just have to wait. So they come out there so relaxed, not feeling for you as an authority going to lose money and to go through all of that. And I believe that it is not good enough. And I want to take the opportunity to confirm, some of the figures that Fred was giving, the years that some of these MDAs containers are left in the port, sometimes 4 years. A project cargo comes in for a ministry and it is left in the port for 4 years. And you want to ask yourself, was it necessary they brought in those cargo in the first place? So I'm not exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating. I was so happy that GSA had done an independent research and they projected some of these years before the port authorities too can confirm. And then again, our friends from the shipping lines have also confirmed this. I would like to educate the gathering that, you see, we have 2 terminals. We used to have only one UCL terminal for a long time. Atlas is there. And it was all due to the congestion in the port for UCLs. We were found wanting with space to be able to handle fresh cargo. So the port authority, in a discussion with Customs, declared Atlas as an UCL terminal, where we send containerized UCL cargo. And then we do have the 2 state warehouses for Customs. One is located at Golden Jubilee. Mr. Akote is encouraging you to put your things there because it's cheaper. But he has forgotten that that state warehouse was built by GPHA. We maintain that state warehouse. We provide chairs, furniture, and everything. We paint the place and do everything. It is GPHA. You see, Customs doesn't spend anything on that state warehouse. So if they are taking that rent, of course, they can just do that. And even that, the cargo that we send to that state warehouse, when they auction, they don't give GPHA also anything. If it goes to the Golden Jubilee State Warehouse, if it goes to their own state warehouse, which is at TBT, GPHA doesn't receive anything for it. Now, it is those containers that goes to Atlas that we have the fixed rates that he was talking about. If it's a 20-footer container, we take 800. It's for everything. Imagine. if it is, you know, for everything. And I think that my sister Regina said it well, that in the scheme of things, the lines have been left out. But that process that we have to put in place, it was kind of, you know, what do you call it? I don't know. The word is not coming. We desperate measures to be able to get something before we were able to do that. Because initially, when everything was left in the hands of customs, GPHA also was not getting anything until the Atlas came in, and we have to put that process to force the process to start with our end. And then we warn Atlas, if you release without the client paying this to us, then you are in trouble. And because we licensed them, it was working. But if not, we were also not getting anything initially, but we were spending money all over the place. Mr. Chairman, when it comes to the shippers, for that, I think that all the reasons have been given. But I also want to emphasize the fact that customs needs to really look at the way they organize these auctions. Containers that have taken so many years that are still at the Atlas and the other terminals where they need to auction them. Apart from the lines providing the list of UCL containers to customs, the terminals do say every month, we do it monthly, every month we generate the list of all the UCL containers on the terminal for all the lines, and then we send it to customs, the customs AC in Tema, for approval, so that those boxes can be sent to the Atlas or overseas terminal for the necessary action to be taken. As for the reefer terminals, until recently when overseas was coming on board and trying to take some of the reefer boxes to their place, because of the blocking nature, we have to keep the reefer boxes on our terminal. But even that, every month we generate the list and we call on customs to take the necessary process to auction these boxes. But trust me, some of these reefer boxes will be on our terminal until the goods go bad. And then it behoves on the shipping line to make arrangements to come and, you know, take it for distraction. They have to pay port health, they have to pay whatever, and then it is taken for distraction. You see, then that is when they are also falling on us to take off the electricity charges. But again, sometimes you will be there and a request will come from same customs for a fresh container that has just gone on UCL to be taken to Atlas for processes to be done. Ms. Afote mentioned that sometimes there are litigations, there are other things that is customs that knows and we don't know. We are begging him from today, the major stakeholders in the chain should know. Because you see, our terminals are being congested. And so we need answers. We sometimes get frustrated. Because when for the reefer containers, for example, when things go bad and we are calling the lines, because they also have to spend money to get the distraction done, they are not coming. The place is smelling, you are calling the line is not coming. Because for us, it is the line that have the contract with the consignee. For the terminal or the port authority for that matter, we are just holding trust for the containers or the cargo for the line. We don't know, at that point, we don't know the consignee. And we've been telling the lines. At that point, they went and had their contract with them. We don't know them. And as they said, sometimes if you even want to fall on the manifest that the lines submitted, so that you can also make some effort to call these consignees. They have wrong telephone numbers, wrong addresses, and all of that, and you can't get anybody. So we need customs to take action in good time as far as these UCL containers are concerned. Mr. Chairman, maybe before I rest my case, I just want to add to what Regina said. What at all is the issue of preventing the MDAs from speeding up these actions? Is it the cumbersome nature that Fred mentioned of the process? Is it not possible to start it before the arrival of the vessel? We are all trying to come up with the clearing process where some part of the processes can be kick-start before the arrival of the vessel. After all, we are successful with this valuation, and they are able to do it. Some of these permits, they are able to do it before the arrival of the vessels. We need our colleagues to be able to take action on this before the arrival of the vessels. Mr. Chairman, maybe also in the various ministries, they don't have a well-organized units who will dedicate time to follow some of these things. Maybe they have to look at it, because if, for example, if you have pharmaceuticals for, people don't want to mention the ministries. First you say what friendship, what. You see, but if they have a unit and they know that they have imported this, I'm sure some people will do a better follow-up so that it can be done. You see, especially I'm saying it can be done because we do have the diplomatic missions who also obtain some level of permits. And Mr. Chairman, you'll be amazed to know that they are able to obtain the exemptions ready to come and clear their goods in time. So what is happening with our own? That is the point. You see, we have the diplomatic missions, they have exemptions, they go through, they are able to be ready with their exemptions, and then when the cargo comes, they come in and clear. So our other ministries and other government institutions should be able to do so, so that this issue of Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority waiving millions and what have you needs to cease, because we are typically commercial. Mr. Chairman, I'll rest my case here when questions come. Thank you.
Since I'm coming from the ministry, my idea really is to look at the policy perspective to how all these issues can be addressed. And from the discussion that has actually gone on right now, and listening to the topics and the discussion, I also realized that, in fact, there are solutions that have been espoused in the course of coming out with the challenges. Solutions have also been brought out. For example, I say that for the issue of the auction proceeds, is there no formula for sharing? Yes, is there no formula? Or if there's a formula, then we should be able to go strictly by the formula. Where there's no formula, that is where the issue is. So if there's no formula, I think it's about time some proposal is actually brought up for it to be considered. But I see this is a major issue that we have to look at. Another question that also came to mind is that, so assuming there were no exemptions, would there still be UCL?
Yes.
Would there still be?
Yes. Yes.
Then what it means is that the problem, as we all agree, is not really about some MDAs not getting exemption, and for that reason, majority, yes, I understand. So I'll try to come out with some of the things that the ministry is actually doing to ensure that some of these things are actually reduced to the barest minimum. In terms of exemption waivers, etc., we know that these are something that is clearly enshrined in law. And for that matter, for anybody, for any MDA to enjoy any exemption waiver or variation, then it means that that MDA should seek parliamentary approval. So that is why in Article 174, it clearly spelled out the processes an MDA has to actually go through to get that. And the discussion that I've listened into and the kind of comments or submission that also come to the ministry or borders on some of these MDAs not getting exemption. I always say that if you have exemption, you don't have problem. Because the current system that we are running, which requires that all MDAs applications should be on the GCNet electronic platform. If you have your exemption, you don't struggle, as Mr. Afuti said. It takes a few minutes for you to go through the process and you go ahead and clear your stuff. The problem is when you don't have. And when you don't have, whatever means they need to take to get the exemption, that's where the challenges are. So for example, when you take the data that I have for 2017, 2008, in terms of the work that the ministry has done to ensure that most of these MDs that are actually embarking on projects actually get the parliamentary exemption to facilitate the clearing process. So we see that in 2017, 2018, we did a lot of work. For example, we were able to get 20 MDAs getting approval for their project-related exemption. And that is something that we are pursuing. So when we look at in terms of the exemption that has actually gone on, the special permits, it has reduced drastically. What it means is that majority of them have actually secured their exemption waivers from Parliament. So which means that with that approval, you don't need to go to table by table for anything, to convince anybody for anything. All that you need to do is to get the documentation right, and you go to the GCNet portal, you upload, and the processes are approved online. So you don't need any manual processes again. It is when you don't have it, that is where the issue comes in. So going forward, we've introduced, as I said, the electronic processes in exemption management. And the end result is that we want to do complete electronic. Complete. It means that those manual processes should be a thing of the past. For example, when you take the harmonized code, the general exemptions that are in agri, fishing or whatever, can there be a self-assessment? When you go to the system, you input it yourself. It's just like going for a visa. You go there, you fill in the spaces, and then electronically everything is transmitted. I don't need to physically go to Ministry of Agri for anything. Once the item is exempt or is classified as an exempt item, I should be able to do self-assessment and go ahead so that all these delays will be eliminated from the system. And let me also add this, that with the MDAs, what we've observed, for which the ministry has really taken the pain to write to all the MDAs, is that under no circumstance should any MDA sign a contract that has tax waiver implications. The Public Financial Management Act does not allow that. It is the preserve of the Ministry of Finance and Parliament. In fact, even the Ministry of Finance, we don't have the mandate to waive anything. It is Parliament. So what the ministry does is to facilitate, to ensure that you get a waiver from Parliament for your project. And that is what we do. But what we've observed is that we go ahead, sign those contracts, and because it's a government entity, then it becomes an issue. So the ministry's hands are tied. So that is where the issue of permits come in. And we're given a lot of permits. for projects. But that is not how we should do it, or that is not how we should go about it. So going forward, the ministry has written to all the MDAs. So what it means is that if an MDA and you go ahead and you sign those contracts, it is not binding. It is not binding. Because some of them, they come under 181 if it's finances. Parliament gives you the approval. But when it comes to the tax waiver, you have to come under 174. So if you don't have it, you cannot enforce the tax waiver issues. So those ones too, we are also tackling it. So just to wrap up, I know a lot of things have been said. What I want to recommend as part of this process is that, yes, it's possible customs and the Ghana Port and Harbours and even the Shippers Authority can help the ministry with. If you can give us, you mentioned that you release those lists, I think on occasional basis or something, to customs. Is there a way that you can share with us so that the ministry can also take it up? Yes, because the custom GRA is under the Ministry of Finance, so we should be able to find out from them what they'll be able to do with all these challenges that is being expounded this morning. I think by so doing, then policy measures, as I said, policy will be brought to bear to ensure that all these things are actually things that will not come and sit here and be repeating them. So, Reverend Dr. Chairman, this is my input for now. If there are any concerns, I'm here to also continue. Thank you very much.
For comprehensive statistics on Ghana's maritime industry, visit our website at www.shippers.org.gh. Point to publications and click on Maritime Trade Statistics.